Today, I'm going to talk about how to maximize the finance elements of your business to generate optimal results.
Have you ever got a sharp pain behind your eye or gone instantly into a coma from trying to make sense of almost any information written on business finance or any finance application for that matter? I have. And I'm a finance guy, or at least someone formally trained in finance, and I get the same headache. So what's the deal with this? Is it really so hard to understand, and does it have to be so unfun to read and digest? In fairness to my fellow eggheads, there is a fair amount of complexity to the actual math associated with finance and finance theory. Add to that the business finance disciplines like taxation, accounting, treasury, and foreign exchange, and you end up with some really mind-blowing stuff that 99% of people have no interest in whatsoever. So why bother with it at all? Well, because it's essential. It's essential to us both personally and commercially. I mean, we live and work and play in a society that is based on a capitalism model, which requires money for exchange of goods and services, which requires finance systems to operate. And in the business world, every single business must have some proficiency in finance, or there won't be much of a business, certainly not a very profitable one. So on the one hand, everybody needs to understand and apply finance to some degree. But on the other hand, the technicians that understand the topic frankly suck at explaining what we need to know in relevant, applicable terms. Thus, we have a knowledge gap which starts right in the public school system. You can graduate from high school without being shown how to write a check, balance a bank statement, or receive any basic instruction on the responsible use of credit. If you go to a secondary school, you may or may not get exposed to a whole lot more depending on what you take. Even if you go into a business school or even a business master's program, the amount of directly applicable information you may receive can be quite small. You'll learn a lot about finance theory and accounting practices and taxation strategies, and you'll be provided with lots of big company cases with lots of complex corporate examples that 99% of the people would never be exposed to in their lifetime. Then, when you venture out on your own, you will follow one of three paths related to finance. Number one, you will get an unrelated job and learn through trial and error how to get a mortgage, a car loan, a credit card, and a line of credit. Number two, you'll pick a finance-related discipline and learn a great deal about the particular aspect of business financing, but still be dumb to most of the rest of the subject matter. And three, you can go into business and live at the mercy of your advisors, accountants, tax specialists, bankers, brokers, lawyers, who will hopefully know what they're doing for what you pay them and know how to apply their knowledge to your real-world baby. Basically, we live in a world where there is an enormous gap between the technical finance knowledge holders and the rest of us making up 99% of the population. While there is no shortage of information available, most of it is just not all that useful to the average person of average intelligence who does not have any special interest in finance. If it sounds like the system is broken, it is. So what's the solution? Like anything else in business, the owners and managers of any business need to control and direct the forces of the business to be successful. When it comes to finance, it's hardly practical to advise or expect non-financial managers to develop a deep understanding of business finance in order to get greater value. Most entrepreneurs will have a primary focus on marketing, which they should, as marketing is the number one most important activity in any business. But finance is number two, and the counterbalance for marketing. Look at any large-scale business and see how they're organized. Marketing on one side, finance on the other. So the answer is not to become expert at something you may not be good at or have an aptitude for. The answer lies in your approach and commitment to maintaining the necessary chi-like balance between number one and number two. The secret to optimizing the finance component of your business is to connect all finance activities into the three core business finance objectives that apply to any and all businesses regardless of size, structure, or country of origin, and then make sure they are congruent and supportive of the overall business objectives of the organization. And the three core business financing objectives are secure capital, manage cash flow, cash out. All finance-related functions and activities can be listed under one or more of these three objectives or categories. This is effectively a point of interface between the managers and owners of a business and the various finance personnel or professionals they have to work with. The focus here is to develop a common set of finance objectives that both finance and non-finance trained individuals can understand and work towards together. Let's look at each one of the core business finance objectives in more detail. Number one, secure capital. Virtually any business at some time will require some amount of capital to operate. There can be rare exceptions, but indeed they would be rare. An organization that has clear goals will have to further expand its goals into strategies and tasks that are assigned dates in a timeline and cost to complete. The collective value required from all costs is capital it needs to secure. The objective is an offshoot of budgeting and accountants, connects to banking and bankers, investors, and so on. Number 2, manage cash flow. Every activity, action, or decision of a business has two things assigned to it: time and cost. When is it going to happen? When did it happen? When will it be completed? What will be its cost? What has its cost been so far? What is it expected to cost? And so on. Cash flow is the lifeblood of any business. Without a positive cash flow over time, there basically is no business. So everything that happens, past, present, and future, is summarized into cash flow management, providing a dashboard of results to whoever is driving the business bus. Finance functions like taxation, foreign exchange, accounts payable, accounts receivable, purchasing and inventory, capital expenditures, and so on all impact cash flow. Summarizing all these activities into cash flow management reporting and providing organizational goals and objectives for overall financial performance provide the basis for all these activities to be managed and measured without being a business financing expert. The key is to provide end goal direction in terms that everyone can understand. The finance people seldom understand the intricacies of marketing, sales, and operation no better than non-finance people understand finance. The same is even more true with outside advisors like accountants and bankers and tax specialists, who typically tend to know very little about the inner workings of their clients' organizations. But these outside advisors can still provide tremendous value to a business if they are properly directed via the 3 core business financing objectives. Without this direction, many business managers and owners simply leave the decisions up to the advisors, which in many cases is dangerous to disastrous. Number 3, cash out. The last core business finance objective, cash out, may sound simple and straightforward, but its importance can't be overstated. We've all heard how you need to work with the end in mind. It's all about working towards a long-term goal or objective, right? Well, I use the term cash out to signify the ultimate exit from the business. People are in business primarily to develop a cash flow, build assets, and build enterprise value for someday in the future when the business will be sold or transitioned to others for an optimal price. The cash out objective is like the rudder on the ship, where when the end game changes for whatever reason, the entire enterprise needs to be shifted to accommodate the change in final destination. Because the long run of business is ever changing and truly organic in nature, short-term linear courses are plotted to operate in the short term. Otherwise, you couldn't operate at all. And as time goes by and more information is known, or impactful things to come to light, or trends develop, or whatever that can influence what you do and how you do it in the marketplace occurs, then course corrections are made. The course correction is about making the adjustments required to continue on a path to optimal enterprise value that will someday be completely financially realized in some sort of exit that is inevitable. As companies grow and fragment into different operating centers, each may take on a life of its own and work towards different ends. But the most successful companies that consider the synergies among the pieces will further wind up all these outcomes into one master exit plan to further guide the ship, or perhaps the fleet. The point here is to always have a clear picture of where you're headed and how you plan to get there. Over time, you will refine the picture and continually bring unclear things into focus. This provides the basis for all experts and functions, finance and others, to line up their efforts towards helping the enterprise achieve its goals. The coordination of organizational activities across functional lines is nothing new. I've just gone a bit further and simplified the collective process into the 3 business finance objectives: secure capital, manage cash flow, cash out. While much of the coordination and optimal use of business finance practices evolved out of big company structures and thinking, the principles apply to small and medium-sized businesses as well. Regardless of size, you need to have a strong handle on these 3 core objectives, and by doing so, you can make sure business financing is working for you and likely providing you with a competitive advantage. Regardless of size, You need to have a strong handle on these three core objectives, and by doing so, you can make sure business finance is working for you and likely providing you with a competitive advantage over those who either view this as too much work or giving themselves a headache trying to understand everything about business finance, which we all know is a very poor use of time. So if you have a business financing problem, challenge, or requirement that you need help trying to solve, then I suggest you give me a call or send me a note to the contact information at the end of this video. And I wish you all the best in your business financing endeavors. Take care.